The bulldozer's roar shattered the dawn like a gunshot in church, chewing through the splintered remains of my corral as if it were yesterday's kindling. I stood there in the dust, fists clenched around the frayed reins of my old mare's halter, her eyes wide with the same betrayal burning in my chest. Paul Hargrove, 42 years on this Wyoming dirt, reduced to watching strangers erase the only home I'd ever built for us. And then, from the cab of that yellow beast, the driver flipped me off, his grin a slash of white teeth through the grime, yelling over the engine, "HOA says bye-bye, cowboy, welcome to civilization." That driver's smirk lingered like bad coffee as I led Bessie away from the wreckage, her hooves kicking up clods of earth that still smelled like hay and regret. The gated community of Eagle's Crest had crept up on my ranch like a fox in the henhouse, all glass McMansions and manicured lawns swallowing the open range I'd called home since Dad passed the keys to me at 18. I'd held out, stubborn as a mule, keeping my 10 acres buffered by that old corral, a weathered pine sanctuary for the horses that kept me sane after Mom's cancer took her, after every bar brawl whisper about that queer cowboy drove folks away. But the HOA? They were vultures in khakis, led by Harlan Voss, a retired oil exec with a Bible in one hand and a zoning violation notice in the other. Aesthetic blight, his letter had called it, as if my sweat-soaked fences were an insult to their imported Italian fountains. I tied Bessie to the porch rail of my sagging ranch house, the one with the tin roof that sang in summer storms, and slumped into the Adirondack chair Dad carved from lodgepole pine. The horizon stretched endless under a sky bruised purple by the receding sun, but all I could see was the empty paddock where Ghost, my gray stallion, the one who'd carried me through 1,000 sunrises, had bolted in panic when the dozer hit. Neighbors from the crest had gathered at the property line, murmuring behind their picket fences, phones out like they were documenting a safari. One woman, pearls clutched like a lifeline, had hissed, "It's for the best, dear." Property values, as if my life's blood wasn't worth a point on their Zillow score. That's when he showed up. Jack Riley, the new architect from Denver, stepping out of a sleek black Jeep like he'd wandered off a magazine spread. Tall, lean, with that effortless city polish, khakis pressed sharp, button-down rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms tanned from weekend hikes. Not hard labor. His hair was that sun-kissed brown that curls just right at the collar, and his eyes, green as sagebrush after rain, locked on mine with a mix of curiosity and something softer, unspoken. He'd bought the corner lot 6 months back, the one with the view of my corral, and we'd nodded hellos over coffee runs to the feed store. But today, he crossed the line uninvited, boots crunching gravel, a thermos in hand. "Paul," he said, voice low and steady, like he was talking down a spooked colt. Heard the rumble from my sight. Jesus. They didn't waste time. He extended the thermos, strong black coffee. No cream, just how I took it, and I snatched it like a lifeline, the warmth seeping through the metal into palms still raw from gripping reins too tight. I took a swig, bitter as my mood. "Harlan's crew," said, "the corral detracts from community harmony." Harmony. Like I give a damn about their potlucks and pool parties. My laugh came out jagged, scraping my throat. Jack didn't flinch. He just leaned against the rail, close enough I caught the faint scent of cedar cologne mixed with sawdust from his blueprints. "Look, I'm on the HOA board pro bono, community service gig from my firm. I voted against this. Tried to push for grandfathering your setup." His jaw tightened, a flicker of frustration crossing that perfect face. "Harlan's got the votes, though. Old money talks louder than sense. I eyed him then, really eyed him. The way his shirt hugged shoulders broad from climbing scaffolds, the subtle rainbow pin on his collar glinting like a secret shared. Jack Riley, the out and proud urban transplant, whispering in board meetings while I nursed my solitude with horses and horizons. "Why tell me?" I muttered, handing back the thermos. Our fingers brushed, electric as a summer storm, and I pulled away too quick, heat rising in cheeks weathered by wind. "Because it's bullshit," he said simply, holding my gaze. "And because, hell, Paul, I've been watching you ride out here at dawn. That corral wasn't just wood and wire. It was you." His words hung there, vulnerable as an exposed root. And for the first time since the dozer's bellow, something cracked in me. Not anger, but a quiet ache, the kind that whispers of what-ifs in the dead of night. We talked as the light bled gold across the plains, Jack sketching idle lines in the dirt with a stick, plans for a compromise fence, he called it, something low profile to appease the suits without selling my soul. I listened, voice rough from disuse, sharing stories of Dad teaching me to break colts, of the night ghost through me during a blizzard and I swore I'd never trust again. Jack nodded, his own tales spilling out, growing up in a Chicago suburb where different meant whispers and slammed doors, the scholarship to Yale that bought escape, the firm in Denver where he designed eco-homes but hid his heart behind deadlines. "Coming out here felt like breathing for the first time," he admitted, voice dropping. "Open space. No judgments. Until the I finished, and we both chuckled, the sound easing the knot in my gut. By dusk, he'd convinced me to walk Bessie down to the creek, her muzzle dipping into the cool rush while we sat on the bank, knees almost touching. The water gurgled secrets, fireflies winking like conspirators, and when Jack's hand found mine, tentative, calloused from pencils not hammers, I didn't pull away. His palm was warm, steady, and in that moment, with the corral's ghost haunting the ridge behind us, I let myself lean in, our shoulders brushing like the first promise of rain. But promises break easy in Wyoming wind. The next morning, Harlan's crew returned, this time with surveyors staking out my creek bed. "Erosion control," the foreman barked, waving permits like flags of conquest. I stormed the HOA office, a sterile strip mall sweet smelling of printer ink and entitlement, only to find Jack there, blueprints spread across a conference table, Harlan looming over him like a hawk. "Riley's redesigning the saloon," Harlan boomed to his cronies, clapping Jack's back too hard. $4 million of taxpayer dream, our crown jewel. Open in spring, with a nod to Old West charm. "Ain't that right, son?" Jack's eyes met mine across the room, wide with apology, but he nodded. "Yeah. Keeping the spirit alive." Spirit. The word tasted like ash. Had he played me? Used my pain to grease his portfolio? I turned on my heel, the door slamming echoes of betrayal. Bessie's whinny faint in my mind like a fading dream. Days blurred into a haze of fence mending and midnight rides. Ghost's saddle creaking under me as I pushed him harder, farther, chasing the burn in my thighs to drown the one in my chest. Jack's texts lit my phone like errant stars. "I'm sorry. Let me explain." "Coffee?" But I left them unread, the corral's absence a hollow in my yard mirroring the one he'd carved in me. The town buzzed with saloon hype, Eagles Crest's $4 million gem, a faux western hall with crystal chandeliers and craft brews, meant to unite the community. Unite. as if erasing my world built theirs. One evening, as thunderheads piled like regrets, I found myself at O'Malley's, the dive bar on the outskirts where locals drowned dust in whiskey. The jukebox wailed Merle Haggard, neon flickering over scarred oak, and there was Jack, nursing a pint at the corner booth, alone. He looked up, shadows carving hollows under his eyes, and slid a stool my way. "Paul, please," I sat, rigid as rebar, ordering a double neat. "Explain, then. You vote against the demolition. Sweet talk me by the creek. Then cozy up to Harlan's vanity project? What's the angle? City boy." His laugh was bitter, fingers tracing condensation rings. "No angle. The Saloon gig? It was in the works before I met you pro bono. Like the board seat. Harlan's pushing anti-everything. No alternative lifestyles in his bylaws. Whispers about vetting new buyers. I took it to fight from inside. Redesign the Saloon with queer-friendly spaces. Hidden nods to folks like us." He leaned in, voice a confessional hush. "That night by the creek? That wasn't strategy. That was me. Seeing you, really seeing you, and wanting more than blueprints." I searched his face, the green eyes raw, pleading. The whiskey warmed my veins, loosening the grudge, and when his knee nudged mine under the table, I didn't shift. "Trust's a fragile thing out here," I murmured. "Like a Mustang's first halter." "Then let me earn it," he whispered, his hand covering mine, thumb stroking knuckles scarred from wire cuts. The bar faded, Merle's twang a distant hymn, and in that booth, with the storm breaking outside, we kissed slow, tentative, tasting of hops and hope. His lips were soft, insistent, parting mine with a gentleness that unraveled me, hands cupping my jaw like I was fragile as first light. It wasn't fire. It was embers, building steady, the kind that warms through winter. We stumbled back to my ranch in the downpour, clothes shedding water like sins, collapsing onto the worn couch by the fireplace. No rush, no conquest, just bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long lost. His head on my chest as rain drummed the tin roof, stories weaving into the night. Jack spoke of his ex, a Denver suit who bailed when the firm transferred him west. I confessed the bar fight in Laramie that left me with a busted rib and a vow of solitude. By dawn, tangled in sheets smelling of sage and sweat, I believed him. Maybe. But Harlan's shadow loomed. The Saloon's groundbreaking was a week away, invitations gold embossed, touting unity under the stars. Jack threw himself into revisions, late nights at my kitchen table, sketches blooming with inclusivity, a pride mural disguised as abstract prairie art, accessible ramps for the elders who'd whisper support in back pews. I watched him, pencil between teeth, brow furrowed in that boyish concentration, and fell harder, dangerously so. Then the betrayal hit, sharp as a spur rowel. I found the email on his open laptop, screen glowing accusatory in the lamplight. Harlan Voss to Jack Riley, revised bylaws draft attached. Ensure no fringe elements at events. Your discretion on the mural, tone it down. Jack's reply sat unsent. Understood. Balancing act. Balancing. As if my heart, my home, were weights on his scale. I packed his bag that night, left it on the porch with a note. Go build your empires. I'll stick to ruins. He came pounding at midnight, rain-slicked and desperate. Paul, it's not. Save it, I growled, door cracking between us. You're just like them. Polished lies in a suit. His eyes shattered. But I shut him out, the latch clicking like a finality. Alone again, the ranch echoed empty, the creek's murmur mocking my resolve. Weeks dragged like a lame horse, the saloon skeleton rising against the skyline, a gleaming steel frame mocking my splintered fences. I threw myself into work, mending irrigation ditches by day, riding Ghost till his flanks heaved under twilight, the wind whipping confessions from my lungs. Bessie grazed listless in the makeshift pen of hay bales and barbed wire, her eyes accusing me of neglect. The town felt smaller, suffocating. At the co-op, whispers followed me, Hargrove's queer tantrum, fueled by Harlan's golf course gossip. Pride swelled bitter in my throat, but I swallowed it, chin high, refusing to let them see the fracture. Jack vanished from the periphery, no jeeps on the ridge road, no texts piercing the silence. Part of me ached for the cedar scent on my pillow, the way his laugh rumbled like distant thunder. The rest armored up, forging resolve in solitude's fire. I'd survived worse. The AIDS scare in the 90s that stole half my rodeo buddies, the church deacons who'd prayed me straight with fists instead of grace. Love, that was for fools and city folk, not weathered wranglers with calluses deeper than their dreams. Then the invitations arrived, brass-trimmed envelopes shoved under my door like subpoenas. Grand opening gala, Eagle's Crest Saloon. Your presence honored. Honored. As if they cared. But curiosity gnawed, sharp as coyote teeth. Harlan's doing, no doubt a taunt, or worse, a trap to parade my defiance. I crumpled it, but the paper's creak echoed Jack's voice in my head. Earn it. Damn him. The night of the gala. Stars wheeled cold over the plains. The saloon aglow like a false dawn. I cleaned up, starched shirt, boots polished to a shine, Stetson low over eyes shadowed by doubt. Folks milled the lot in Western finery. BOLO ties and Stetsons on the men, sundresses swirling on women, champagne flutes catching light like fireflies. Harlan held court at the entrance, paunch straining his embroidered vest, bellowing welcomes with a cigar clamped in teeth yellow as old ivory. Paul Hargrove, didn't think you'd show. Come see what progress looks like. I nodded curt, slipping past into the belly of the beast. The interior stunned, a cavern of reclaimed barnwood and vaulted beams, chandeliers dripping crystal over a polished oak bar stocked with Wyoming whiskeys. Tables groaned under catered spreads. Bison sliders, artisanal cheeses, the air thick with mesquite smoke and murmured toasts. To unity, Harlan boomed from a stage strung with fairy lights, his wife beaming beside him, pearls a noose around her neck. Unity. The word curdled, especially when I spotted the mural. Jack's pride gnawed, reduced to faded geometrics, rainbows leached to pastels. And there he was, across the room, cornered by developers in suits, gesturing animatedly over blueprints. Jack looked sharp, devastating. Tailored blazer over a crisp white shirt, slacks hugging legs I traced in moonlight, hair tousled just so. Our eyes locked through the crowd, his widening like a colt sighting home, and he excused himself, weaving toward me with purpose. My pulse thrummed, traitor that it was. Paul, he breathed, close enough for cologne to curl around me like smoke. You came. Curiosity killed the cat, I drawled, sipping a seltzer to steady nerves. Or in my case, the Corral. The barb landed soft, but his flinch was real, hand half-reaching before dropping. Fair. But let me. A clap on his shoulder cut him off. Harlan. Cigar reeking. Arm slung proprietary around Jack's neck. Riley, here's the genius. Turned my vision into gold. Stick around. Hargrove, maybe you'll learn a thing about fitting in. Jack's jaw clenched. Green eyes flashing warning. But he played along, murmuring agreements that twisted like barbed wire in my gut. I excused myself, wandering to the balcony overlooking the creek. My creek, now landscaped with imported willows. The water rushed below, silver under moonlight, whispering of the troughs I dug years back. Gravity-fed lines snaking from the spring to keep the horses quenched. Ingenious, Dad called it. Essential, I knew. And now, staring at the saloon's underbelly, its foundation perched precariously on reclaimed wetland, sump pumps humming faint, I saw the vulnerability. A kink in the line, a diverted flow. Water's patient revenge. The thought bloomed dark, seductive, as thunder grumbled distant. Drain them. Flood their empire with the very lifeblood they'd stolen. Not destruction, justice, poetic as a cowboy ballad. I slipped away before Jack could follow, the gala's laughter chasing me into the night. Back home, sleep evaded, mind mapping the creek's veins like an outlaw plotting heist. By dawn, I was out with shovel and pipe, sweat beading under Stetson as I spliced a bypass. Trough overflow rerouted subtle, a hidden valve under sagebrush cover. It'd take days to fill, silent seepage into their foundation, until the gala's peak, when weight and whimsy would crack their facade. No traces, no proof, just Wyoming's wrath, wet and unrelenting. Jack showed at noon, Jeep crunching gravel, face etched with resolve. We need to talk. Really, I met him on the porch, arms crossed, Bessie nickering soft from her pen. Talk's cheap, I said, but stepped aside. Inside, coffee brewed strong, mugs steaming as we settled at the scarred oak table. He laid it bare, the email a misstep, Harlan's pressure cooker twisting his arm. Sign off or lose the firm contract, he'd threatened. I was stalling, buying time to expose his bylaws, the discrimination clauses hidden in fine print. Paul, I love. He stopped, cheeks flushing. I care. More than projects. More than this damn town. Love. The word hung heavy, unspoken completion aching between us. I wanted to believe, to pull him close and let sage-scented kisses erase the doubt. Instead, I traced the table's knots, voice rough. Caring's not enough when push comes. You balanced, Jack. I don't. He reached across, fingers lacing mine, warm and sure. Then unbalance me. Let me stay. Fight with you. His thumb stroked my wrist, pulse jumping under touch. And when he leaned in, I met him halfway, lips crashing soft, then fierce, tasting salt of unshed tears. We moved to the bedroom slow, deliberate, bodies rediscovering paths. His hands mapping my back's ridges from roping scars, mine tangling in his hair as he whispered my name like prayer. No frenzy, just communion skin to skin, breaths sinking like tides, the ranch's creaks a lullaby to our reclaiming. After, tangled in sheets, head on his chest, I confessed the plan. Anyway, the diversion, the flood. His laugh rumbled low. Diabolical. Poetic. But risky codes. Inspections. Then serious. Let me help. Rig it reversible. If it goes south, plausible deniability. Partnered. We schemed through evenings. Jack sourcing fittings from his supplier contacts. Me scouting weak points under moonlight rides. Romance wove through. Picnics by the creek with Bessie's saddlebags, unpacked cold cuts and craft IPAs. Stargazing where his stories of constellations blurred into kisses under Orion's belt. He fit, seamless as a well-broke colt, challenging my silences with questions that peeled layers. What scares you more, losing the land or opening your heart? Both, I admitted one night, fire crackling as embers danced. But you're making me braver. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow at the edge. Harlan's spies, nosy neighbors with binoculars, circled closer, complaints piling about unpermitted digging. Jack waved them off, charm his shield, but tension coiled. The saloon neared completion. Gala invites multiplying. Harlan's toasts growing bolder. No room for relics in our future. The night before the event. As we tested the valve, water trickling Tess Swift into a bucket, Jack pulled me close by the creek bank, moonlight silvering his face. Whatever happens tomorrow, we're in it. You and me. His kiss sealed it, deep and anchoring, hands framing my face like I was his North Star. I believed, then fool that love makes us. The gala dawned crisp. October wind carrying the tang of impending frost. Leaves skittering across the crest's flawless lawns like fleeing secrets. I'd barely slept, mind replaying the valve's click. The creek's conspiratorial gurgle. Jack left at first light for last-minute tweaks. Official ones, he joked, kissing my temple with a promise. Midnight is done. Meet at the ridge. His jeep-tailed dust devils down the drive, and I busied with chores, grooming Ghost till his coat gleamed like polished silver, whispering apologies to Bessie for the chaos I'd wrought. By evening, the saloon pulsed with anticipation, strings of lanterns swaying gentle as the lot filled with pickups and sedans, Wyoming plates gleaming under floodlights. I arrived fashionably late, Stetson tipped low, blending into the throng of pearl clutchers and power ties. Harlan's voice boomed from speakers. Welcome to Eagle's Crest's Heart, a saloon for all, built on tradition. The irony burned as I slipped a flask of my private stock, aged bourbon, smooth as regret, past security's lax gaze. Inside, the air hummed electric. A bluegrass band fiddling hoedowns on stage, waiters circulating trays of deviled quail eggs and microbrew flights. Jack moved through it like a current, charming donors with sketches, his smile a beacon that snagged my breath. Our eyes met across the bar. He mouthed soon, and I nodded, heart-thudding counterpoint to the banjo's twang. Harlan cornered me mid-sip, breath sour with scotch. Hargrove, decided to grace us after your theatrics. His laugh was oil-slick, eyes narrowing to slits. Heard you're digging holes. Vermin problem. Creeks always shifting, I replied, even tipping my hat. Nature's way, he harumphed, clapping my shoulder hard enough to jolt bourbon in my glass. Then veered off to schmooze a councilman. I drained the shot, warmth spreading tendrils of resolve, and melted into shadows. The valve waited upstream, concealed by tamarisk thicket, a simple turn to unleash the flow. But as I edged toward the exit, a hand gripped my elbow. Mrs. Ellis, the Pearl Lady, face pinched. Paul, dear, have you seen Jack? Harlan's furious. Says he's botched the lighting cues. Fury flickered. Was this the snag? I murmured excuses, pulse racing, and ducked out into the chill, boots silent on dew-slick grass. The creek path wound dark, willows whispering overhead, the valves gleam a ghost in moonlight. One twist, metal cold under palm, and the rush began, muffled at first, a serpent uncoiling through pipe and soil. Satisfaction bloomed dark, visceral, their $4 million folly, sipping champagne oblivious, would wake to sopping ruin. Back inside, the band's set swelled to a reel, dancers swirling in boot-scuffing abandon. Jack found me at the bar, brow slick with stress. Lighting's fine, Harlan's just Harlan. You, his hand brushed mine under the counter. Thumb circling knuckle, private Morse. Handled, I whispered, the lie tasting of liberation. His eyes lit, pride mingling with heat, and he pulled me to the dance floor slow two-step, his lead firm, bodies close in the press. My cowboy, he murmured into my ear, breath hot on neck, sending shivers unrelated to the draft. We moved as one, hips sinking to fiddle's wail, the world narrowing to his green gaze, the subtle press of chest to chest. For a stolen hour, betrayal's ghost fled, love a temporary dam against the flood. Then the rumble, subtle at first, a tremor underfoot mistaken for bass thump. Glasses tinkled on tables, laughter hitching. Harlan paused mid-toast. A crack, sharp as lightning, split the air. The floor buckled center room. Water erupting in a geyser. Tables capsizing like dominoes. Screams erupted. Heels splashing through ankle-deep surge. Chandeliers swinging wild as the band fled mid-note. Chaos bloomed. Soaked gowns clinging. Men cursing as bourbon-soaked finery ruined. Harlan bellowing orders from the stage, now an island. I froze. Jack's arm iron around me. His whisper fierce. Paul, did you? Guilt surged. But triumph too. Raw and righteous. Security herded folks out. Flashlights cutting swaths through pandemonium. The creek's vengeance spilling unchecked now. Foundation groaning like a wounded beast. In the melee, Harlan lunged through the tide. Face purpled, seizing Jack's collar. You, this your sabotage? Those eco-features, floodplain bullshit. Spittle flecked Jack's cheek. The older man's grip vice-tight. Jack shoved back. Voice steel. Let go. Harlan. This is on your cheap engineering. Not me. But eyes turned suspicious. Accusatory. Landing on me in the doorway. Stetson shadowed. Whispers rippled. Hargrove's grudge. The Corral. A councilman pointed. Call the sheriff. This reeks of payback. Panic clawed. Jack yanked free, grabbing my wrist. Run! We bolted, splashing through calf-deep current. Out the side door into night air crisp with ozone. Pickups revved in the lot, horns blaring as evacuees piled in. But we veered to the tree-lean, lungs burning, ghosts distant whinny a siren's call. We holed up in my barn. Hayloft sanctuary smelling of dust and leather, breaths ragged as we collapsed against bales. Moonlight slanted through slats, gilding Jack's face, dirt-streaked, alive with adrenaline. You crazy bastard, he panted, half-laugh, pulling me close. That was epic. His kiss crashed then, urgent, tasting of champagne and creek mud, hands roaming desperate over damp shirts. We stripped slow, deliberate, bodies cooling in the chill but warming fierce, his mouth on my collarbone, tracing scars like maps, mine on his hip, nipping the V of muscle. It was reclamation, raw and tender, hips grinding slow as the flood's inexorable creep, gasps echoing soft in the rafters. Climax built like storm, cresting in shudders and sighs, afterglow a tangle of limbs and whispered vows. Dawn crept gray, sheriff's lights flashing distant at the crest. We rose, dressing in silence heavy with consequence. "They'll trace it," Jack said, voice steady. "Pipes, witnesses. But if we confess together—" "No," I cupped his face, thumb smudging a smudge. "You stay clean. Firm. Future. I'll shoulder it." His protest died on my lips, kiss sealing the pact. But as we saddled Ghost for a ridge escape, engines growled up the drive, sheriff's cruiser, Harlan's Cadillac tailing. "Paul Hargrove," the deputy bellowed, spotlight blinding. "Out for questioning. Property damage. Endangerment." Jack stepped forward, blazer rumpled. "Officers, this is a misunderstanding. Faulty build. I'll vouch." Harlan spilled from his car. "Venomous. Vouch? You're in it. Riley, I saw you two slinking off." The arrest blurred, cuffs cold on wrists. Jack's shout, "Call my firm. Bail him," fading as they shoved me into the cruiser. Jail was a concrete cage in county seat, bars humming fluorescent, the deputy gruff but fair, Harlan's pushing charges, but waters receding. Saloons insured, might settle civil. Nights stretched eternal, caught hard under back, mind replaying the flood's roar. Jack's touch. He visited twice, suit pressed, eyes hollow. "Bail hearing tomorrow. Firm's on it, pro bono for you." His hand pressed the glass, mine mirroring. "I love you, Paul. Said it wrong before. Mean it now, love." Through plexiglass, pierced, mending fractures. "Prove it free," I rasped. "Fix this town." Hearing dawn stormy, Harlan testifying bluster. Sabotage, malice, but Jack's cross-exam dismantled him. Depositions on ignored flood risks. Emails exposing discriminatory clauses. "This wasn't revenge," Jack argued, voice resonant. "It was a wake-up. Your unity excludes half the community." Gasps rippled the gallery. Misses. Ellis nodded subtle, others shifting uneasy. Judge, a grizzled local with ranch roots, banged gavel. "Evidence inconclusive. Case dismissed. Pending investigation. Mr. Hargrove, rebuild your corral. Mr. Voss, audit your bylaws." Cheers erupted soft, Jack's grin breaking wide as I walked free, his hug bone-crushing in the hall. But freedom tasted bittersweet. Harlan's glare promised war, whispers of lawsuits lingering. Back at the ranch, Bessie nuzzled welcoming, but the corral's void yawned. Jack stayed that night, bodies entwined gentle, his fingers tracing my jaw. "We'll rebuild. Together." Winter clamped down swift, snow blanketing the plains in hush white, the saloon scar a muddy trench iced over like a poorly healed wound. Insurance crawled, Harlan's bluster reduced to lawyer letters I burned in the hearth, their threats melting like spring rime. The town simmered, divides cracking open, petitions circulated for HOA reform. Mrs. Ellis hosting inclusivity coffees, where sidelong glances at Jack and me spoke volumes unspoken. Progress, Wyoming style, slow as molasses, sweet if it stuck. Jack commuted from a Casper rental, Firm demanding Denver oversight, but weekends were ours. Blueprint sessions morphing to trail rides, ghost bearing double as we cantered ridges dusted sugar. He'd tease my cowboy poetry, odes to the land I'd mutter at dawn, while I ribbed his fancy sketches. Though truth, his designs breathed life into my visions. A corral reborn, hybrid of pine and steel, solar-powered gates nodding to green. Love deepened roots, steady as cottonwoods by the creek. Mornings with coffee on the porch, his head on my shoulder watching elk silhouette against rose skies. Evenings tangled by firelight, stories unfurling like smoke. His Yale summers backpacking Appalachia, my rodeo circuit ghosts, the '89 Cheyenne stampede that taught fear's face. Yet conflict brewed subterranean. Harlan regrouped, rallying traditionalists at private suppers, leaks hitting the local rag. HOA founder alleges queer conspiracy in flood fiasco. The word queer leaped like accusation, stirring old wounds, barstool sermons, Dad's silent acceptance masking his own buried pains. I tensed at the co-op, stares pricking like burrs. But Jack, he burned, drafting op-eds that eviscerated hypocrisy. Unity isn't uniformity. Eagle's crest thrives when all voices echo, not silenced. His fire ignited mine, but betrayal's specter loomed. One blizzard night, snow howling banshee, he arrived late, cheeks flushed beyond cold, phone clutched white-knuckled. Harlan cornered my boss. Firms pulling support, reputational risk, his voice cracked, green eyes storm-tossed. We paced the kitchen, bourbon pacing our confessions. The pressure mounting, Denver's pull, the fear that our patchwork life would fray under suit scrutiny. Go if you must, I said, throat tight, pouring another finger. Can't cage a hawk in a henhouse, he whirled, grabbing my shirt, pulling close. Not leaving. Not you. The kiss was fury tender, bodies slamming counters in desperate rhythm. His nails raking my back, my teeth grazing his throat. Release a thunderclap chasing the gale. After, spent on the rug, embers glowing, he whispered plans. Resign the firm, freelance from Casper, design sustainable spreads for ranchers like me. Our empire. Small, real, spring thawed tentative, green shoots piercing snow's crust, the creek swelling fat with melt. Rebuild started humble. Post sunk deep. Jack's crew, queer coders turned carpenters. A nod to his network, hammering alongside locals swayed by coffee chats. I worked silent, muscles singing, Bessie supervising from shade. Ghost testing the first rails with playful nudges. Community trickled. The barber offering free trims. A widow baking pies for the boys. Humanistic threads weaving. Fragile but fervent. Harlan struck then. Venom refined. Subpoenas landed. Civil suit for intentional infliction. Depositions dredging my past. Laramie fight. Deviant behavior as motive. Jack lawyered up pro bono. A Denver ally with rainbow suspenders dismantling claims. No evidence. Flood from neglect. Courtroom was theater, Harlan's allies in Stetson sneering. But Mrs. Ellis testified soft. Seen the change. Paul's Corral. It belongs. Judge dismissed again. Fees on Harlan. But the toll lingered. Jack's freelance gigs drying. Whispers chasing him to Casper meets. Climax brewed at the summer fair. Eagle's crests bid for normalcy. Booths hawking quilts and kettle corn under big top tents. Harlan announced his counter. A heritage committee. Bylaws rewrite excluding disruptive elements. The word hung, aimed clear. Jack and I volunteered the Corral demo eco-ranching talk. Horses as stars, drawing crowds curious. Kids petting Bessie with wide-eyed awe. Mid-afternoon, under relentless sun, Harlan crashed our booth. Megaphone blaring. Folks, before this sideshow, remember true Wyoming values. No floods. No fads. Booze mixed cheers. Tension crackling like heat lightning. He jabbed a finger at me. Hargrove's grudge nearly drowned our dream. Who's next? Jack surged forward. Voice amplified by quiet fury. Your dream excluded us. Bylaws banning families like mine, and Paul's. That's the real flood. Hate washing reason away. Gasps rippled. Then applause, sporadic at first, swelling as misses. Ellis stood. Then the barber. Voices uniting. Fair's fair. Harlan paled. Megaphone dropping limp. Crowd parting as he retreated. Defeated. That night, fair lights twinkling distant. We rode the ridge slow. Ghost gate lulling. Jack's hand on my thigh. Warm through denim. We did it, he murmured. But his phone buzzed. Denver offer. 6 figures. Partnership. They want me back. Stability. Betrayal's knife twisted fresh. Not his, but fate's. Take it. I choked. Raining ghost to halt. Deserve wings. Not dust. He dismounted swift. Pulling me down. Faces inches. Wings with you. Or none. Tears tracked his cheeks. Mine joining. And we clung there, salty kisses under wheeling stars. Bodies sinking to grass. Love-making reverent. Slow explorations. Whispers of forever. Climax a quiet wave cresting shared. Summer waned gold. Corral complete. Sturdy. Solar lit. A beacon. Harlan resigned. Bylaws gutted. Eagle's Crest's first pride picnic plan tentative. Jack declined Denver. Leasing Casper space. Our lives entwining. Mornings shared. Evenings designing dreams. But autumn winds carried whispers. Harlan's final gambit. Anonymous letters to Jack's clients. Questionable ethics. Flood ties. Gigs faltered. Stress etching lines around his eyes. It's him, Jack seethed one eve. Papers scattering. Ruining us. Fight or fold? I asked. Hand on his nape. Fight. His resolve mirrored mine. Love's forge. Fall painted the plains in fire. Aspens blazing orange against evergreen's solemn green. The creek running high with autumn rains. Mirroring the swell in my chest each dawn Jack stirred beside me. Our rhythm settled domestic. Profound, him sketching at the kitchen table while I fried eggs. Banter flowing easy as coffee. Teasing his city slouch against my ranch sprawl. Laughter sealing cracks. Ghost and Bessie thrived in the new Corral. Rails humming under touchscreens Jack rigged for remote checks. A fusion of old soul and new tech that felt like us. Love. Humanistic in its quiet. Helping the widow Ellis mend her fence. Hosting barbecues where sidelong glances softened to toasts. The town inching toward grace. Yet Harlan's shadow lengthened. His heritage committee, a hydra of holdouts meeting in basements. Leaks fueling a smear campaign. Jack's inbox bloated with cancellations. Reconsidering priorities. His freelance teetering. Nights, he'd pace the porch. Phone glowing accusations. While I rubbed shoulders knotted tight. Whispering. Storms pass. But doubt crept. Insidious. Was I anchor or anchorite? Dragging him from skies? The betrayal crystallized crisp November morning. frost limming windows like lace. I found the letter on the dash of Jack's Jeep, creased envelope. No stamp. Harlan's scrawl. Walk away, Riley. Or watch Hargrove's world burn again. Photos enclosed. Inside, surveillance shots, me at the valve. Grainy but damning. Jack nearby. Complicit shadow. A note. Plea deal. Drop the flood. I bury this. Your future. Or his cage. Heart plummeting. I confronted him at breakfast. Photos splayed like cards in a bad hand. Why didn't you tell me? Voice cracked. Betrayal raw as barbed wire rip. Jack's face drained. Fork clattering. Harlan slid it under the door yesterday. Threatened exposure to my firm, the town. Said he'd frame you solo if I didn't ghost. He reached. Desperate. I was protecting. Us? Or your clean slate? I shoved back. Chair scraping. Always balancing. Jack. Flood was my sin. Don't compound it. Stormed out to the corral. Ghost nuzzling frantic. But solace fled. Betrayal stung deepest from love's hand. His silence a chasm where trust drowned. He followed. Voice breaking over the rails. Paul. Wait, I burned it. Deleted the email chain. We're in this. But I mounted ghost. Rains taut. Galloping ridgeward. Wind lashing tears. Hours blurred. Hooves pounding turf. Mind replaying. Creek kiss. Barn haven. Galladash. Had it all been conditional? His heart a blueprint erasable? Dusk found me at the old springhead. Valve sight now wildflowers nodding ironic. Jack's Jeep idled below. His figure ascending slow. Hands raised placating. Talk to me. He stopped paces away. Breath clouding. I screwed up. Fear. Losing you to bars again. Like Laramie. But I chose us. Every time. I dismounted. Ghost grazing wary. Choice means truth. Not shadows. Voice steadied. Surfacing. Love me? Fight open. Harlan wants war. Give it. He closed the gap. Hands framing my face. Thumbs wiping salt. War it is. Kiss followed. Fierce apology. Lips bruising. Bodies pressing rock solid. Desperation yielding to determination. We camped there impromptu. Fire crackling tales. His terror of repeating his ex's abandonment. My vow post-dad to stand alone. Dawn broke, alliance forged. Resolve steeled. Counterstrike launch subtle. Jack leaked the letter to a Casper ally. Investigative journo with a nose for corruption. Eagle's Eye ran front page. HOA ex-leader's blackmail plot exposed. Photos redacted. But Harlan's handwriting damning. Quotes from Mrs. Ellis corroborating intimidation tactics. Town erupted, pickets at his gated mansion. Council probes launching. His committee dissolving like mist. Climax crested town hall meeting. Auditorium packed shoulder to sweat. Air thick with coffee and contention. Harlan ascended podium defiant. Paunch quivering. Slander. Hargrove's cabal ruining our values. Booze thundered. But he pressed. Unveiling doctored ledgers. Flood costs. My losses. Jack rose then. Roommate to me. Voice cutting crystal. Mr. Voss. Your values hid discrimination. Bylaws barring LGBTQ plus families. Emails we have. He projected slides, redacted but revelatory. Gasps cascading. And blackmail? That's not heritage. That's hate. Crowd surged standing. Chants rising. Fair play. Fair play. Harlan lunged. face apoplectic, but deputies, local sons with ranch roots, escorted him out, cuffs glinting. Chaos mellowed to catharsis. Mayor calling for elections, reforms promised. Jack turned to me in the fray, hand squeezing mine, green eyes shining. We did it. Outside, under harvest moon, confetti of fallen leaves swirling. We walked arm-in-linked, townies nodding approval, some hesitant, others hearty. Proud of you, the barber grunted, clapping backs. Humanistic victory, not conquest, but conversion, hearts turning like seasons. Winter whispered close, first flakes dusting Stetsons as we drove home, radio crooning Willie Nelson odes to outlaws. Betrayal's scar faded, loves weave tighter, proof in smalls. Jack's Casper office hung with Corral photos, my phone pinging his thinking of you amid blueprints. Yet Harlan's parting shot lingered, a lawsuit filing, 11th hour vengeance. He won't quit, Jack muttered over stew, storm brewing outside. Then neither do we, I replied, foot hooking his under table. Resolve, romantic in its grit. December arrived merciful, snow's blanketing sins soft. The Corral a winter idol, ghost's breath clouding like dragon smoke, Bessie snow-nosing hay piles Jack forked fresh. Our life deepened domestic poetry. Him teaching me AutoCAD on lazy Sundays, fingers guiding mouse over glowing lines. Me showing him roping knots by firelight, his laugh bubbling when loops snagged sleeves. Love manifested Monday miraculous. Shared flu bouts with broth and bad TV. Midnight drives to stargaze when insomnia struck. Bodies curling instinctive against cold. You're my horizon, he'd murmur, tracing my palm's lines, and I'd pull him closer, heart full as the creek in spring. Harlan's suit dragged, discovery phase dredging dirt mutual, his finances probed, revealing kickbacks from developers. Our flood evidence debunked as coincidence, engineers testifying wetland flaws. Mediations stretched taut, his lawyer sneering across tables, but Jack's poise prevailed, countering with ethics board complaints. Town shifted seismic, pride flags fluttering porches tentative. The saloon reopened humble, community center now, murals restored vibrant, first event a unity feast drawing diverse faces. Climax resolved unceremonious, judge's chamber stuffy with radiator hum. Harlan slumped opposite, eyes hollowed, suit hanging loose on frame shrunken by scandal. Settle, his lawyer urged, voice wheedling. Terms, drop charges, HOA dissolution, reparations for Corral rebuild, plus a donation to local LGBTQ plus youth outreach. Harlan signed trembling. No bluster left. Just a broken God help us all. Outside, snow falling fat flakes. He met my gaze fleeting, regret, resignation, before shuffling to his Cadillac, tail lights fading into whiteout. Jack hooped soft in the hall, scooping me into a spin that left us breathless, laughing against courthouse marble. It's over, but victory tasted layered. Pity for the man, not monster, whose fears birthed fortresses of exclusion. Humanistic close, redemption's door ajar, if he'd step through. Spring bloomed triumphant, greens unfurling tender, the creek laughing free. We hosted the first Corral barbecue, Eagle's Crest melting pot, Ellis's pies, Barber's brisket, queer coders grilling veggies, kids chasing ghost's tail. Jack emceed toasts, voice warm, to horizons shared, no gates, just open range. Cheers rose, Mine loudest, arm slung his waist proprietary. That night, under Aurora's shy dance, rare Wyoming gift, we slow-danced porch planks, his head tucked my shoulder, bodies swaying to cricket's chorus. "Marry me?" he whispered, ring box materializing moon silver, simple band etched with intertwined rains. Tears pricked, joy sharp as summer sun. "Yes," I breathed, slipping it on, gold-warming finger. Kiss sealed eternal, soft, profound, promising tomorrows. Casper commutes easing to full ranch life. Designs for sustainable spreads dotting plains. Love's legacy in every post and beam. Years blurred benevolent. Jack's firm bloomed eco-focused. My ranch expanded therapy stables for at-risk youth. Horses healing what words couldn't. Harlan faded hermit. Rumors of apologies whispered at coffees. Eagle's crest evolved mosaic. Pride parades snaking streets. Unity no longer slogan but sinew. On our 10th anniversary, ridgetop picnic under the very willow where we'd schemed, ghost grazing gray-muzzled nearby, I pulled Jack close. "You drained more than a saloon," I teased, nuzzling neck. "My walls. My fears," he grinned, green eyes eternal. "And you rebuilt mine. Stronger." Laughter mingled with kisses. Bodies reclining on blanket-warmed grass. Lovemaking languid as river flow. Hands reverent. Breaths harmonizing. Climax a shared sunrise cresting hearts. In America's vast heart, where prairies whisper secrets to stars, we stood two men, scarred but steadfast. Love's trough overflowing grace. No grand tragedies, just humanistic happily ever after, earned in mud and moonlight, betrayal's flood fertilizing fields of forever.